Hello guys, today we'll be talking about the movie Christine, the horror movie. It was released in 1983, it's rated R, it's about an hour and 50 minutes long. It has 6.7 out of 10 on IMDb with about 65,000-ish user votes, and it has 57% on Metacritic, about 10 critics. It stars Keith Gordon, who was in A Midnight Clear, and John Stockwell, who was in Top Gun. It's directed by John Carpenter, who did movies like Halloween and all that. Rotten Tomatoes has 71% by critics with 28 critics. It's not certified fresh. It has 63% by audiences with about 64,000-ish user audiences. The critics' consensus on Rotten Tomatoes is that the cracks are starting to show in John Carpenter's directorial instincts, but Christine is nonetheless silly, zippy fun. On the Just Watch app, it's available to stream on Crackle and CBS Amazon. And it's available to rent and buy on Amazon, Vudu, Redbox, YouTube, Google Play, iTunes, AMC On Demand, AMC On Demand, yeah, AMC On Demand. Sorry, just making sure. And it was released on DVD in 2004, at least to my best of knowledge. All right, so I love this movie. This movie is a horror movie, but it's also a character study. I read this Twitter feed just today about the movie, and they were talking about if the movie was a possession movie. Like, is the car possessing the person who buys it, the character who buys it, or if that's not the case, whether the car is haunted or is it the character or stuff, and just stuff like that. I've never read the book that it's based on, so I don't know what changed. As far as I know, there hasn't been. As far as I know, it doesn't seem like there was a ton of changes in the books. This movie, sorry, oh sorry. This movie is stressed across a period of time. It does move at a good pace. For some reason, I thought this movie was shorter. When I watched it in college, and I rewatched it recently with my sister, and and it was longer than I remembered. And in all honesty, that's probably for the best because it should be. The length is good for the movie because you need to see that transition. I love these kind of horror movies where you see these characters transition. And that's the thing about horror movies is that a lot of times the actors in it aren't well known. So so in this, it kind of lets the characters more shine through better because sometimes when you cast famous leads, you're kind of distracted. Instead of focusing on the character, you're focusing, oh, that's Kevin Bacon, or oh, that's this. And speaking of which, so let's talk about the ingredients. The acting is very well done in this movie. There's not really any campy moments per se. Everything's pretty well done. I will say the writing is very good. There's a lot of the 80s was not a time to be anyone because in this movie everyone is just nobody nobody will take any fucks. Nobody will be like there's teachers grabbing students telling them to stop doing what they're doing. There's bullies with knives in schools. It's pretty hardcore shit. I mean, it's there's no easy way. I mean, it's you if you survive 80s high school, you can survive fucking anything. um Christine, the car itself is awesome. There's almost an iconicness to it. Cinematography is fucking amazing. It's classic 80s cinematography by the glorious John Carpenter. In terms of his dictatorial instincts, um, I don't know. I don't know what they mean by it. I didn't really notice anything weird. are off compared to previous John Carpenter movies. Because in all honesty, this was made in '83, and so he's made a lot of great movies after that. This wasn't like the decline, and he made movies after this that were great. So I think the only thing with this movie that I think being based on the book, I think that could be something. I mean, it is an hour 50 long, which in all honesty, for horror movies back in the day, that's actually kind of on the long side. And in all honesty, the horror action doesn't really. In all honesty, it's not really a gory movie now that I think about it. It really isn't. There's a lot of language. Language is the biggest thing. I mean, there's a lot of language in this movie, and it's intense. There's a lot of intense moments, and I will say I do like that the car is the horror villain, a haunted car. I like what I like about the haunted car is that it looks it's it's such a great looking car. It makes you want to be like, I want this car, but it's deadly. It's definitely it's like one of those deadly like femme fatales kind of thing where it's like they're gorgeous, but they'll fucking kill you. It's that's the kind of thing with it. The writing's great, but because it's based on a Stephen King novel, and in all honesty, like I said before, I didn't hear about any real diverse changes compared to the materials. I think the story starts in well, the movie's made in '83. The story starts taking place in '78 with the main character, so I don't think this book was written that long before the movie adaptation. I think it was probably this is a guess. Probably released in the late '70s, maybe 1980 or something like that, and then it was. I don't think it was around long before the movie, so I don't think there was like so it was pretty fresh when it came out. Um, the Stephen King movies were just becoming huge because then Carrie was the first adaptation, actually, I believe. Now I don't know if there was anything between Carrie and Christine. I can't quite remember for sure. Um, but it's a pretty awesome movie. Cinematography is amazing. I love the soundtrack. The soundtrack's great. It's a great John Carpenter created soundtrack with some other tunes representing the car and everything. Um, the use of lighting is amazing, especially with the car. I mean, it's just it's a horror movie, but it's also a character study horror movie kind of thing, where you kind of get to learn. It's a very character driven movie because as much as Christine is like the horror villain of the show, what also is a big part of it is the characters like obsession with the car as well. Now, a lot of people may argue that the car could be driving the obsession. Like if it wasn't for the car, he wouldn't be obsessed. But in all honesty, the way I saw it, it was kind of a two-way streak. I mean, yeah, the car definitely plays a part in the obsession and the possession or whatever, but I also think there's already a little bit in the character that was kind of leaning close to it already. And if you saw the world he was in, you'd understand why. But yeah, and it's a great movie. Check it out. I highly recommend it. It's a great Stephen King movie. I don't think there's the only flaws I think is that it is a tad on the long side for a horror movie, especially back then. So some people may not quite. It might be a little long for some people, and there's not really a ton of star power. So some people may want. So if unless you're fine with the actors not having big names, you might be look, but the acting, there's nothing wrong with the acting. I didn't notice any cheesiness really. It kept it. The only thing that's really over the top is just the way people act around each other. Just kind of a lot of assholing around. I kind of like it though. It's kind of hard. There's a hardcoreness to it. But but yeah, guys, that's all I have to say about it. It's a great movie. Check it out. And yeah, thanks for watching. Please subscribe and like the videos, and have